Welcome, everybody, to an episode of Rooting and Rising, our first video episode of Rooting and Rising. Really excited to be with you all here today. My name is Dr. Carmela Maxwell. I am the host. And today I have the wonderful and amazing Joy Larkin, who is a narcissist abuse coach. And I can't wait to have this conversation with her. My glasses. There's so much glare. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So before we begin today's episode, I want to offer a brief trigger warning. So today's conversation includes some discussion about narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, coercive control, gaslighting, stalking behaviors, trauma bonding, manipulation, and the psychological impact of unhealthy relationships. Some of the topics we're going to discuss are pretty difficult, activating, or emotionally challenging for listeners, particularly those who have experienced abuse or trauma themselves. Please take care of yourselves as you listen. If at any point you find the need to pause, step away, or revisit the conversation at another time, I encourage you to do so. And I also want to note that today's discussion is intended for educational and informational purposes only. While we will be discussing narcissistic personality disorder and related behaviors, this podcast is not intended to diagnose any individual. A diagnosis can only be made by a qualified mental health professional following a comprehensive assessment. So our goal today is to provide education, increase awareness, and support those who may be trying to get better understanding of their experiences. So with that said, welcome back to Rooted and Rising. So a little bit about who we are. Joy, I'm going to bring you in here. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from,
Yes,
what led you to become a narcissist abuse coach.
definitely. I'm super excited, Dr. Carmela, and
Mhm.
it's definitely a pleasure being on here. So I'm actually initially from Delaware. I'm an East Coast gal.
Hey, hey,
Yes, I'm an East Coast gal. Yeah,
okay.
but I actually had the experiences with narcissism and interacting with people that had narcissists in California. So,
Wow.
I lived in California for 11 years. And so, but I'm currently in Florida now. But as you can
Yes.
see, yes, as you can see, I've kind of moved around. I've had a lot of experience. But again, what led me to this whole, helping people with narcissistic abuse, again, my experience living in California, where I had an auntie that I lived with for 5 years who was a narcissist. And then also, while living with her, just trying to figure out my path and try to figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Right.
There was a male narcissist that I connected with him for about 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that he actually, in fact, was a narcissist as well. And then
Oh.
the final thing, I think it was like the camel that hits the straw or however you say that, it broke the straw, right?
Yep, yep.
So there was an individual that I was working with. He was a borderline and he had similar, characteristics to a narcissist. And I dealt with him for about 4 months. That was a romantic situation.
Wow.
And again, it turns out he had personality disorder. So that's what kind of led me along the way on this path here.
That is, going from East Coast to West Coast. I totally understand. I mean, I was born in Michigan, raised in New Jersey. Now I'm out here, in good old Washington State. So
Oh, cool, cool.
extreme weather, right? Extreme weather. So we're dealing with that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your vulnerability and willingness to share because I think this is going to help so many people and really help people realize that we experience these things. We can
Mhm.
experience these things, and we need support.
Definitely.
We need support, and really being able to figure out. Uh, I think how to identify. Not just if individuals are presenting with narcissistic behaviors, but
Mhm.
how we can protect ourselves and how we can also situate ourselves in a better place so that we can heal.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
I think that that's really key, like protecting ourselves, healing, and so that way we can move on from this experience. Because sometimes it's difficult for a lot of people to move on, and that's why the cycle continues. It's just kinda like a losing battle over and over and over
Mhm.
again, same relationships, same behavior patterns, same addictions, so yeah, this is good information here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to hop into a question here shortly,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you a little bit about my background because I want folks to know who's in the room, right? So we have, like I said, the wonderful, amazing Joy Larkin with us today, who is a survivor and a coach, and so relatable and so sweet. And once again, just thank you for being here. So my background is in mental health. I'm a mental health professional. Um, I have my doctorate in clinical psych, and I've worked with people from just all different walks of life. And my assumption, most of the time, all of the time, is that people are coming in with a history of trauma, whether it's seen as little or big or continuous or has been broken up. That we've all experienced trauma, and we all need to just, I think, give one another grace and really come to a place of trying to understand one another. And so I've worked with individuals that have personality disorders and PTSD, backgrounds where they have experienced some really, really difficult situations and abusive situations. And these stories continue to compel me to do this work and spread awareness. And so I'm so glad to have you here to help me, on this mission. Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you for
Yes.
that. And I love your background, Dr. Carmela. I think it's super impressive. I love the work that you do. You're super beautiful, gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. So are you. You know what?
Thank
See,
you.
yes, yes. You know what? Thank you so much. So much. And, I want to start with this question. Why does this topic matter?
Yeah, I feel like, because people are experiencing abuse, whether they know it or not. And I feel like it's important for them to know, like you said, to know how to protect themselves, to recognize it. And so that way, if they do happen to run into an abuser, they can be like, okay, I know who you are. Be like, they can control themselves, control their emotions, control their mind, and not get into further trouble or, further react or whatever the case may be. But it's definitely extremely important for people to know, to learn, and to share with others as well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I definitely agree, and I think too the ways in which abusive behaviors are manifesting. My experience, both personally and professionally, is some of it showing up in more of a nuanced way, so it gets harder to recognize. I think over time,
Hmm.
um, and I know I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I definitely constantly having to filter through my world and make sense of life and my experiences. And so being worn down, I think, makes it that sometimes we engage in situations or engage with people that we might not otherwise
Hmm.
if we had some support or education around it.
Hmm.
So I think that's wonderful. Yeah.
Definitely. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about abuse, I'm going to step into my clinical hat. Um, and I really want to talk about what narcissistic abuse is, because I think that we need to sort of delineate and just, kind of separate what it is versus what it's not.
Hmm. Yeah. So
Wow.
I feel like for me, like what I have come to the conclusion of being around narcissists, the individuals that I came into contact with. So, just have a sense of grandiosity. A lot of them feel like they need to be superior over others. They look down on other people. They definitely need a lot of attention, excessive attention. I mean, we all like attention, but I mean, with a narcissist, it's like yeah, everybody look at me 24/7. If you're not looking at me, I'm gonna force you to, that kind of stuff. They lack empathy, they lack sympathy. You know, I've recently have kind of noticed and I look back and I'm like, they're kind of like adult bullies as well.
Mm,
Like
mm,
extreme, like yeah, like a high school bully, but an adult.
uh-huh.
And Yeah, they don't take responsibility for their actions, they lack accountability, and, their relationships are they don't really have good relationships. If they do, obviously, is manipulation and different things of
They
that
have
nature,
relationships at
control.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kinda based off of, like, like, falseness, like, fakery,
Mhm.
foolery, trickery, things like that, So, that's one of the biggest things, and then also they're very competitive, they're very jealous, they're just very pessimistic people, and that's for you. They have bad intentions for individuals, and yeah, that's what I've noticed when it comes to people that have NPD, personality disorder, so
Yeah, and so I wanna speak from, my clinical hat. There's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM-5, right? That's used by mental health professionals. And so how we classify narcissistic personality disorder, it's a cluster B personality disorder.
right.
And those disorders are often characterized by like dramatic, emotional, erratic patterns of behavior, much like what you said. And some of the other disorders in this category are borderline personality disorder that you talked about before, histrionic personality disorder, and then antisocial personality disorder. And I want to make a disclaimer here for all of you who are listening. It's important to note that a personality disorder diagnosis cannot be made from a TikTok video or from social media or Facebook
Yeah.
post, a
Yeah.
bad date, or even a single therapy session, right? Like I said in the
Mhm.
beginning, this needs to be diagnosed by a mental health professional, and assessments. So we're
Right.
not diagnosing anyone today. We're talking about patterns, patterns that show up, patterns that we may or may not recognize. We're talking about education, and then we're talking about behaviors that survivors encounter frequently. Right. So I want to walk through some of the criterion to educate folks about what's in the DSM. So there are different criterion. So criterion one, grandiose sense of self-importance, like you said. So this is more than confidence, right?
Mhm.
Confidence says I am hard, I work hard and I'm proud of myself. And grandiosity says I'm superior, superior to everybody
Mhm.
else.
Exactly.
So right. So people might experience this as exaggerating accomplishments or overestimating their talents, believing they deserve recognition, like unearned.
Unearned, right, yeah.
Um, yeah. And, a healthy confidence is grounded in reality. And that's something that sort of separates the individuals that have narcissistic personality disorder versus kind of the general public. And the second criterion, fantasies of unlimited success, power, beauty, or ideal love. So a lot of people daydream. That's normal. But we're talking about this excessive preoccupation with fantasies of being greatness, right? So
Mhm.
constantly imagining extraordinary success and status and influence and brilliance or this perfect relationship. And that fantasy is how they regulate their self-esteem.
Mhm.
Um, Number 3 is belief that they're special and unique. Now, this is not to say we're not special or we're not,
You are special, yeah.
right? But you might hear statements like, nobody understands me, nobody gets me. I'm all in a class of my own. I'm different from everyone else. Only successful people get me. Oh man, I've heard that.
Mm. Oh my god,
Oh man.
what?
Right. And once again, we're looking at patterns, not just the pattern
Pattern.
comments. Because I've
Yeah.
no, I've definitely said, I don't think anyone understands me. And I think that comes from a place of a feeling and experiencing just being different in some ways from
Exactly.
people. So,
Definitely.
want to tease that out. This is the big one. And I think we'll definitely zoom in on this requiring excessive admiration.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Mhm.
We all like appreciation. That's a human, that's human. But excessive admiration goes beyond that. Like, I mean, this person's self esteem becomes dependent on this constant praise and validation and attention and reassurance. And when they don't get that, what's the first thing that is experienced? Like they get irritated and mad, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They have a
So that
narc injury, I guess you would
no
say.
Hillary. Yep.
Yeah, no.
Yep. Oh, I can't wait until you dive into that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Um, this sense of entitlement, I think this kind of
Mhm.
goes without saying, right? It's that's I think one of the most recognizable features of NUD. Um, so expecting this favorable treatment because they believe they deserve it. And um, you see that I think for many people, many of us who have survived these experiences, um, the impacts that it has on our mental health and our ability to navigate are very interesting. Um,
Right.
they're interpersonally exploitative. So they, you know, using other people to achieve what they want. And those individuals don't often see that they're being used, and so everyone serves a purpose and has a value to help further their agenda. Um, and then I think the last piece that's really big is this lack of empathy.
Mhm.
Um, so you know, a lot of survivors would say to me, "So he knew or she knew that I was in pain. I told them that I was in pain." And it's like they didn't listen. So overlooking the fact that people are having a real emotional experience in relation to those behaviors that they're displaying. Um, and I've also experienced both professionally and personally, these individuals can intellectually understand someone being hurt. They're able to really articulate,
Mhm.
but to empathize, that's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't, they don't care, if it's not about them concerning their needs and wants, then they don't care, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, being envious of others or
Yeah.
believing others are envious of them. "Oh, they're just
Yeah.
jealous of me," minimizing, other people's accomplishments and their
Yeah.
successes and the things that they've done well, and then just this arrogance. And,
Mhm.
so yeah, so walk me through, um, some of the things that we might see outside of this clinical talk, um,
Mhm.
some of how narcissistic abuse shows up.
Yeah, it definitely shows up in many different ways. I know, like, of course, love bombing. Love bombing as far as like romantic relationship, how they're, showering a person with attention and affection and praise constantly over the top, to kind of they have like you said, they have an agenda. They're trying to get something, or they may try to use that person, like you said, or they may be trying to exploit that person for whatever the case may be, or they're trying to control the situation. They're trying to control the outcome.
Uh-huh.
Um sometimes intense connection could show up, where um, it's like when you meet that person, maybe you feel like, oh, that's my soulmate, or oh, I'm supposed to be with them. And maybe you fantasize it in your mind, and it's like you don't really know them that well, I guess you would say. And it's like it's too much too quick, I guess, that whole intensity, right? Or you could also feel like you've known that person your whole life, but it's just like sometimes it could come from unmet needs from childhood, that maybe that person is feeding you and you're kind of like, "Oh, okay, yeah." Um
It's almost like
yeah.
are they zooming in to, it's almost like a feel, I don't know, right? It's almost like they're zooming into a gap
Yeah.
or a missing place.
A void,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, like a void, like and the narcissists, they'll ask you questions, they'll get to know you, which, I mean, we all wanna get to know each other, we all wanna connect, but when it comes to a narcissist, they listen because they're like, "Okay, how can I use that against them? Or how can I manipulate them further? How can I control them later?" You get me? And so, it's also, I guess, the intense connection goes with the fast attachment. So, again, they kinda feel like, "Okay, let me get attached to them quick so that way I got them. I got them as a supply." They're not going anywhere. I'll force them to accept the abuse. They'll be my puppet. I can get them to do whatever I want or whatever, and they won't leave. They'll stay forever, that kind of thing. Or go ahead.
You said something, supply. Now, this is
Yeah.
something I'll tell you, I've seen it all over TikTok and all over social media. Can you tell the audience, I think so, we see this very relatable concept. What is narcissistic supply?
Yeah, it's pretty much just a individual that will suit the narcissist's needs and wants and desires. So it's basically the narcissist sees the people around them as tools, right? They don't really see them as a person with like emotions and feelings and needs, concerns. No, they're like that person is here to be used. I'm going to use them. I'm going to get whatever I can get out of them, and then after that, if it doesn't work, then I'll just go ahead and discard them, or I'll go ahead and move on to someone else, and
That's
that's what a
heartbreaking.
supply is. Yeah, it
And
is.
and that's the other term, the discard.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen that floating around on the interwebs, right? And,
yeah.
I think that word is so potent. When I think of discard, I think of, like, trash being discarded. It's
Oh, yeah,
almost as if the
yeah.
yeah.
The narcissists, they do not value the people around them, again, unless they can use them for something and it makes them look good. But again, if
Oh,
you're the type of person, you see through them, you speak up for yourself, you don't tolerate abuse, you're calling them out on stuff, then they're like, okay, I'll just deal with them now, but eventually I'm gonna go ahead and discard them. I'm gonna, get somebody else, or oh, I'm gonna, just move on or whatever, and stuff like that. Or I'll
Imma
give
write
them.
down something that you just said. It's because I wanna get back to what happens when you call them out. We gotta talk about
Oh,
that.
yes, of course.
Oh,
Yes, yes,
man.
yes.
Oh, man. Yes, okay,
Oh,
we owe it
yeah.
because this is wonderful.
So yeah, it's definitely a lot to it. So again, the future faking. Of course. So again, the narcissist, they'll tell you things, they'll give you promises, they'll set you up so that way, again, you'll be disappointed, you'll be upset, you'll be sad, and that's what they want at the end of the day. They're not gonna come through for any of the things that they told you, especially like I said, if you call them out or,
Oh.
you're questioning them, right? Or
Yeah.
you just don't agree. You're not a yes person. You're not a people pleaser. Maybe you have been that way before, or maybe you've been
Well,
codependent on them in some way. And now you're like, hey, you know what? Let me kind of just do this on my own, or let me think about it first. Let me not be so quick to go to the narcissist first. Cause I know for me, like, with the male narc, I wasn't codependent before I was with him. Like, I was fine. I didn't need to go to him for like if I mean, it's nothing wrong with going to a person for advice, but it was like to the point where like I would call him, be like, "Hey, do you think I should do this?" Like I was relying on him for like everything, and like
it's
that's
like
how it
permission seeking
exactly, like validation and approval,
Yeah.
and I had
Yeah.
never done that ever with anyone, and it was like because of the abuse, that's what it causes the victims to do, so
Yeah. I can definitely relate. I've definitely experienced that. And I think the future faking part, and it's wonderful to have a name to it, right? Because I think people are trying to like,
exactly.
what do I call this thing when I'm describing it?
Yeah.
When I'm, at 3 in the morning when I'm looking up on Google, trying to be like, how do I articulate this?
Yeah.
But I think the other piece that is fascinating in an educational way is with future faking. This can drag out for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
So, I also don't want the audience to think, oh, it's like you'll pick up these signs, and then all of a sudden, you'll know, and then you're like, okay, now I got to guard. I mean, I have worked with and spoken with people who have said to me, I wasn't even aware, and then 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, then I realized they're non-committal. They're not
Yeah.
they're not they're not going to, and you think that the investment of time equates to the quality of the
Right.
relationship.
Yeah. And that's sad, because I felt like that happened to me as well. I felt like I seen the red flags, I'm not gonna lie, and I was younger, I was, like, 21 at the time when I was dealing with this male narc, so I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
know what yeah, I didn't know what was going on, I didn't know it was abuse, no one taught me
Yeah.
that, and, it was a thing where he was in a relationship, and he was asking me, like, "Okay, do you wanna,
Oh.
be with me too?" And I'm like, "Well,
Wait a minute.
yeah,
Wait a minute. Pause. What? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
so, I'm thinking like, "Okay, I can change him." I think a lot of people do this. They're like, "Oh, I can change them," you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And so, it's a thing where he was like, "Oh, well, alright, well, one day I'll be with you," you know?
Mm.
Yeah, right? Like, so
Mm.
he definitely did the future faking to me for sure. And, he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for someone like yourself," he just kinda, like, played the game, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, I was disappointed because I was thinking like, "Oh, we had a future together, future faking," and,
Yeah.
yeah, so it hurt.
I
So,
think the
yeah.
part that strikes me about what you said, um, is there is this exaggerated this confidence there. This, one day I'm gonna be with you. I'm like, instant cringe in my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute. First of all, I was not taking applications, but thank you for
Yeah.
the, steamrolling your way into my future somehow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I feel like also the abuse shows up as triangulation. So, like, where the narcissist brings in a third party to kinda, like, make, you feel jealous as far as, like, romantic partner.
Mhm.
Or it could be like a friend and maybe they've showed them more attention, or maybe they're like talking to them more to try to like, make you feel a type of way. Or they could also triangulate a stranger. I know the male narc did this to me because like it was a business situation and then eventually we did start to date. And I remember, like, just it's nothing wrong with talking to the waitress or whatever, but it was like he started to flirt with that person, and I'm like, "This is
Uh,
weird," you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, it was
Yeah.
kinda weird like that, and then also with narc parents, they will triangulate siblings with each other. So
Oh, man.
so they'll kind of put one against the other, try to like say, "Oh, well, you're doing better than like Sarah, you're doing better than Johnny," or vice versa. Why can't you be like him or make him?
Or like,
Yeah, So it's horrible. And the narc
yeah.
parents, they don't get a pass, and the in-laws are the same way. They don't get a pass.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
What about narc women? Because I also want to be real about, I mean, it's narcissism comes in, I think, all forms, and I've experienced this. What about narc women?
In my opinion, and I hate to say this, disclaimer everybody, because I love everyone, I really do. There's some people, that I'm not a fan of, I ain't gonna lie. But but in my opinion, I feel that the narcissistic women, I think they're the worst. And I hate to say
Mm,
that, but
mm,
I think they're truly the worst. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like they have a lot of influence over their children
mm.
and, they can shape and mold them to how they want them to be, and they have a lot of influence over them, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of the times that I noticed, adult children or younger children or preteens, they seek more validation from their mothers. They want
Mhm.
approval from their mothers more than their dads. That's just been my experience or what I've seen from others. And
Yeah.
so the fact that that narcissistic mother uses her power and abuses it to be like, "Oh, well, I don't want you to live your life this way. I want you to do it this way." Or, "Oh, I don't want you to be friends with them. I want you to be friends with this person." Or, "Oh, I want you to do this career path." Like, and I'm saying all that because I experienced that from my auntie.
Mhm.
And again, I know that initially her intentions, the whole situation while I was there, I appreciated her for everything that she's ever done, and I've always
Yeah.
told her that straight up. But I just did not appreciate how she tried to control me. And she also used fear, guilt, and obligation,
Oh,
which is called the fog on, she didn't want me to like move out. She didn't want me to like live my life
yeah.
and do what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And I'm just like, Auntie,
Yeah.
we have to set boundaries here, and
Yeah.
the advice that she did offer me, I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate your advice, but I gotta do
I
something
gotta
else. I'm
go.
sorry."
I
Yeah.
gotta go.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So, you know.
I really respect that opinion, especially with your experience about it. I think, men and women alike it presents itself very differently in terms of the influence and what have you. So I mean, thank you for sharing that because I think I want to present a balance. It's not just that there are male narcs, right? There's female
Yeah.
narcs.
No, there's
Um,
females. Yep,
there's female narcs,
absolutely.
and I think that really what you spoke to really is in relation to just attachment, right? We know about early attachment and how, that critical period is from ages 2 to 5. And that's when we really start to learn about who we can trust in the world. And we all came from a mother. And
Exactly.
so in my head, what you said makes a lot of sense. Um, seeking that validation from that female figure from your mother. And it is sad when that level of power is used in an abusive way. And there's so many people I think that just need to heal. Oh,
Oh, yeah,
that
definitely, and it's a thing where it's not happening, and I'm only saying that just due to, like I said, just me interacting with people on a daily basis,
mhm,
their moods, their way that they talk to you, the way that they look, they look like they're in pain or they look like they're suffering, and it's
mhm.
it's heartbreaking for me because I mean, I care, I wanna help people, but it's like, if you don't wanna help yourself, then that's not my problem. Like, you get what I'm saying? If you can say, "Hey, you know what? I'm struggling with this addiction, or I'm struggling, like, with this area of my life. Let me go and get some help." Whether that's therapy, it's a counseling session, or it's, like, career-wise, or whatever the case may be, or it's, like, the self-esteem, or like you said, like, PTSD, CPTSD, stuff like that, or just, like, overcoming family dysfunctions and trauma bonds and
Yes.
all types of
Ooh,
stuff,
trauma. So, what makes um, someone vulnerable to narcissistic abuse?
That's a really good question. I feel like, what makes someone vulnerable is the fact if they have grown up in a household where maybe there was abuse, maybe there was isolation, maybe there was rejection, maybe there was abandonment happening,
Mm,
you know?
mhm.
Um Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And maybe there was lack of communication from parents, like they didn't talk to one another, things of that nature. And then also on the other side, it's where maybe the person grew up in a functional household, which is
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
which is kind of rare these days, but that's a beautiful
Okay.
thing. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's rare. Like, oh my God.
Functional. I don't know. I have coffee in hand. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, does that even exist? Like, really?
Mm.
So, but I feel like if the child is like given everything, maybe they don't have to work for stuff, or maybe they don't understand certain values, certain morals. Then, like you said, the whole entitlement thing, they're just expecting this, and they're like, "Oh, I'm, this and that, and I look down on others, and other people are that." They talk down on others. Exactly. I feel like that can cause a person to be vulnerable um to being abused by a narcissist, or they in fact themselves could become a narcissist as well.
Mm.
So that's something to be
Yeah.
aware of.
Aware. Oh my. Oh
Yeah.
my. So then with
Absolutely.
that, knowing, or maybe not knowing. And we talked a little bit about, that gap or whatever. When insight has been brought to light, right? So
Mhm.
so go through this relationship or this situation, we realize, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with an individual that is showing narcissistic patterns,
Mhm.
or we find out from some assessment or some, that this person has bona fide narcissistic personality disorder.
Uh-huh.
So you have this information now. What what makes victims of this return after having this information?
Yeah, I feel like familiarity, like they're familiar with the person and the situation. They also they have hope that the narcissist can change as well.
Uh-huh.
They also feel like maybe it's something that they can do to change to get the narcissist to treat them better.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they're lonely. They miss the narcissist.
That's been one,
You know?
and I think the other piece that I think I've heard, over and over again is, "I I may not be able to do better than this."
Yeah, they don't know their
Oh,
value, their worth. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, they feel like, "Oh, like, this is what I deserve." I actually had a person that I was, doing one-on-one sessions with, and it broke my heart because she was a lot older, and I was
Mhm.
grateful that she reached out to me because she was she'd been through it. And, she dealt with 2 narcissists, and the second one, it was to the point where, yeah, she knew she was being abused. He was taking care of her financially, so he had that control over her, the financial control.
Mm,
And I'm telling her, I'm like, "Hey, I mean, you deserve better. You can go out and try to get independence, reclaim your sense of self, your identity, work for get back on your feet, and you don't have to be so dependent on them because that's how they can really get you stuck and, trapped."
yeah,
And
yeah.
she just was so convinced that she could not do better. She didn't love herself, I'll be honest,
Oh my
you
god.
know. And, she actually hated herself due to, the mistreatment, not only from the 2 narcs that she met, but she also was mistreated at work, which, I have been a victim of that too.
We've
Um
all experienced some form of just invalidation in
Yeah.
multiple, realms, and I think, speaking to that, when It it's kinda like I call it the Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events type deal where you're just constantly getting hit on all different fronts
Yeah.
and separate so you
Yep.
overgeneralize. You'd
Yeah.
start to think, "Well, if I'm being bashed here, it must be something intrinsic
Something
to
wrong
me. It
with
must
me.
be."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want people listening to know it's nothing wrong with you. It's just patterns, pick like the people you pick and your value. You have to know your worth. You have to realize, like, I deserve somebody that respects me, somebody that loves me, but you have to do that for yourself. If you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, no one else is going to do that. But you also have to understand that there are people out there that want to harm you, and again, this information, hopefully, they hear it and they're like, okay, I can use this to protect myself. I can think this thought, I have this mentality, so now if I'm seeing some signs, I'm not so quick to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm more like, "Oh, no, let me just keep my distance and just keep
Yeah, remain
the
curious.
yeah,
Right.
and just move on and continue to focus on myself." But yeah, survivors return, and again, they miss the narcissist, they see them moved on with someone else, and they feel like, "Oh, well," they feel guilty too, they feel like, "Oh, I coulda did something more, I actually had another person." He actually was dealing with a female narcissist, and
Oh.
she moved on to someone else quickly, she got married actually to someone else that
Isn't that isn't
yeah.
that so I mean, I think for so many victims, um you survive this abuse, these patterns, and then they move on and they seem happier.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yep. It's the worst feeling in the world.
it is horrible.
It's so, like it's like it's like punches you in the gut. It makes your heart drop. It's just so devastating. It really is. Um, but I reassured him. I gave him a lot of validation, and he's doing a lot better now, but it's just the people that he had around him just didn't understand what he'd been through. And that's another thing I encourage people, hey, if you've gone through this experience, don't talk to other people that have not because they don't understand and
No,
they're not
definitely
going to
not
help.
explaining.
Exactly. And it's too overwhelming, you know? And it makes you feel worse. So it's just like, please talk to people that have actually gone through what you've gone through, or they, licensed like yourself, clinical, all that good stuff, or have life experience like myself. So yeah. So that's why they return, unfortunately.
It's so sad and but super relatable because I want to put out there that this is so human, right? I think we're all looking
Yeah,
for love, we're all looking for validation,
we are
we're all looking for um
to be accepted
our to be
and
accepted, right? Our other
yeah,
half and it's a journey. Oh man, I can't tell you.
it's really, yeah,
It's such a journey. Um
yeah.
if you're still let's talk about some practical safety and recovery strategies. If you're still in the relationship, what are some things that you want to relay to folks on how to keep themselves protected and um, and to help them in terms of just like supporting them through this really difficult, challenging period?
Yeah, I would say if you're still with them, just plan to leave quietly and privately. Obviously, don't tell your partner because they're going to try to stop you or try to make you feel bad. You have to begin to detach emotionally as much as possible. Document interactions, phone, text, recording, things like that, written words, emails. Maintain support systems, friends, family support, but people that really support you because, sometimes people pretend like they support you. They pretend like they care, but they really don't. So you have to have the discernment on that as well. I had to learn that the hard way. I'm pretty sure you have too.
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
please you know? Avoid isolation. So talk, speak up, like you said, stand up for yourself. Don't feel like you got to keep everything in, you got to hide and hold it all in. No, speak on it.
Yeah,
Because if you don't, no one's going to know. And then you're just going
yeah,
to suffer. You're going to
yeah,
struggle with that. It's like, don't to yourself.
yeah,
And then, again, emotional detachment strategies, creating safety plans. Again, distance emotionally, spend less time with that narc, block, delete, rebuild your identity, and privately leave. And like I said, for some, you might have to change your phone number. You might have to throw things away. You may have to stop going to certain like places where you and that narcissist used to hang out. Certain music you might have to avoid, you know
yeah,
now, if there's children involved, that's a whole nother topic, but,
yeah,
try to avoid bashing that narc parent to the child because I believe that children are smart and they can
yes,
figure out who the bad parent is. That's just
yes.
been my experience. So,
Yes, yes, and I think, to piggyback on that from my clinical perspective, if necessary, use use any legal recourse, right? So if you need to get, protection orders,
yeah.
um, and, get law enforcement or the courts involved, if things are getting, to a place where they're unbearable, then definitely utilize that, speak with an attorney. Yes. Okay. So what are some things that are critical, um, in
Yes.
terms of reclaiming your life after experiencing, narcissistic abuse?
Absolutely. I feel like what's critical is, healing, of course. Healing yourself, healing your emotional wounds or your emotional attachments or different addictions or behavior patterns that maybe could have gotten you in that situation. I feel like, reclaiming your identity, rebuilding your
Mhm.
self-esteem and learning to love yourself and value
Mm,
yourself, knowing your
mhm.
worth and, finding out what you enjoy in life. Like, what are your hobbies? What makes you happy? So that way, like your next relationship, or it might even be a friendship. So that way you're not overly focused on them or overly attached to them to the point where, if the narcissist abandons you or they discard you, then you won't be so hurt. Or if they like move on or marry somebody quickly, you're like, you know what? That person wasn't for me. So I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah.
focus on myself again and I'm going to work on my healing. So,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
being biased and being a clinician, I'd say, make sure you get yourself into therapy, speak with a
Yes,
professional.
absolutely.
There's so many apps out there that make therapy and coaching and such extremely accessible, or more accessible than I think we've probably ever experienced in this
Hmm.
lifetime. Um,
Right.
and make sure, like you said, you're setting those boundaries, doing the things that bring you joy,
Yes.
Yeah, doing those things that bring you joy.
Yes,
And, I also want to take a moment since you are a coach, can you let the audience know a little bit about if they would like to work with you,
definitely.
and any projects you have going on to
Yes.
to help the community, let us know. Tell us all about them.
Yes, for sure. So again, I am a narcissist abuse coach, so I help former victims and survivors heal, move on, and recover after dealing with narcissistic abuse. Again, I've been dealing with narcissists since 2006, and since 2017, I have been helping former victims move on and recover and all that good stuff. So I offer one-on-one sessions. I've been doing that
Mhm.
for quite some time, obviously. I also offer courses, which I'm super excited. I'm going to share with you guys in just a moment. I actually just launched a new
Yes.
course with a co-host.
Ooh.
Yeah, like what she's actually become a team member of mine. Her name is Kyra.
Wow.
Yes, and because I actually
Wow.
need the help, which is crazy.
Yep.
Because
Hey.
as things are expanding, I'm like, hey, I need help. And we definitely been helping one another, but she's actually a host of a podcast called Coffee Talks. Speaking of coffee, right? You
Okay.
mentioned coffee.
We're
But,
gonna link that so that
yes,
so
we
that
will link
the
her as
audience can
well.
also,
Shout out to
yeah.
her, Kyra, she's super
Yeah,
sweet.
shout out. Thank you.
So, but yeah, and then I also offer, like, guidance and counsel, different like, in a psychedelic way as well.
Mhm.
And things of that nature. But as far as the course, so this is actually the flyer here. I actually printed out some.
Very
Yeah, so
nice.
pretty, right? Look
Very
at that.
nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Pretty.
Yes. Okay. That is
But
gorgeous. We will make
yes,
sure I will tag this on socials for all of you that
yes,
follow me at the real Carmela Maxwell on Instagram. I will make sure that that is made available for all of you that would love this support and would like to
definitely.
take this course. Tell us what it's about and what to
Yes.
expect.
So definitely. So the course is called Healing Hearts Finding Joy Again. It's a new course experience. So it's pretty much like what to expect in this course. Healing that goes deeper. And it's going to be tools for growth and transformation. It's for 12 weeks. And
Wow. Okay. Good.
yes, it's for 12 weeks, which I love that
Yes.
fact. Yes, and it's virtual. So,
Good. Accessible. We love
yes,
it.
it's very
We love
accessible
that.
and it's quite
Good.
affordable because I know a lot of folks are like, "Oh, but it is affordable as well. But we are also going to be talking about faith, purpose, and finding, your sense of self like in this world even after dealing with like I said if it's different traumas, abuse and things like that. And the other purpose is, for us doing this is for us to have a community that feels like home for folks because your heart was never meant to stay broken. And you're not just
Mm.
healing, you are becoming. And
Yes.
the other aspect too is that again, I've noticed this too. A lot of people feel like again they don't matter. They feel like they're
Mm.
unimportant. They feel like people don't care. And we want to like have this course cuz we want to love on people. We want to let them know like, "Hey, we care. We've been through it. We know." The other aspect too is we're going to be talking a lot about like grief, dealing with
Yes.
different types of grief and different stages of that and how to like just be there for one another and encourage
Yep.
and support each other on their grieving journey or their mental health discussion, whatever it is that
Yeah.
we're going to be mentioning in the course. And we're also going to be having weekly live sessions. So as the individuals
Very
go through
nice.
the course, yes, we're excited. Then we can come together if they have questions or they just want to talk or they need to vent or they just need a listening ear. That's what this course is all about. Finding their joy again, healing their heart once and for all. And even if
Awesome.
it's not the end all be all, it's a start. Some people
Yeah.
don't even
You gotta
start.
start
So this
somewhere.
is like
Mhm.
just a stepping stone here. This is not
Mhm.
the end, right? This is just the beginning. So,
Yes.
I don't know, and like I said, for me, I've been in pain a lot. I used to talk to God. I'm like, "God, why am I struggling so much? Why am I suffering? Why do I
Yeah.
have to be heartbroken a lot and feel this pain?" And I remember because I have a really good relationship with God,
Mhm.
and God, like, let me know, like, "You went through this because you're gonna help other people." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Well, God, why did it have to hurt so bad?" But,
Yeah.
it's like God, he does everything on purpose, and it's not
Mhm,
for to hurt us,
mhm.
it's actually to help us, you know?
Yes,
And
yes,
I felt like after I went no contact, like with my auntie, the male narc, and the borderline individuals, I got so close to God because, in a sense, I was kind of isolated, which was scary because it was just me.
yes,
But I
yeah,
had a handful of friends that I could call, like, hey, they were really like had my back and stuff like
yeah.
that. But yes, that's the course. Now we are actually doing an early bird special, which is nice. So a 12-week course is only gonna be 137 for 12 weeks,
Okay,
right?
all
Pretty
right. We're gonna
affordable?
put this link in
Yes,
in the description.
in the
So
description.
please, please, please. So
Yes,
Kyra and Joy are gonna be running
yes,
this, and we are definitely gonna get the word out for those of you
definitely.
that are looking and have been looking for this support and this
Definitely.
community, like you said.
Yes.
This is extremely important. You know, we want our communities to heal. We want to
And
heal.
we need it,
Hmm.
and like you said, we're
Hmm.
constantly being poked at, or we're constantly it's like aggression, it's a hostility,
Yep.
and,
Yep.
and you're just like, "I'm not even doing anything. Why are people coming
No.
at me constantly?" And
Hmm.
it makes you feel like it's something is wrong with you, like we said, and it's just like,
Hmm.
it's nothing that's wrong with you, it's just that's the world that we live in, unfortunately. And the other
Yeah.
aspect, so that early bird special is gonna be until July the 3rd,
Okay.
and the regular enrollment is gonna be 197, which starts on July 4th, so Independence Day, yay.
Yes,
Um,
okay, okay. Independence Day, isn't that
Independence
mm,
Day,
look
yes,
at that. Yeah,
and then
reclaiming your independence, look at that.
yes, I love that, and also
Yeah.
I wanted to say, in this course, so again, we're gonna have the grief share support,
Mhm,
mental health discussions, weekly live sessions. We'll also have homework and reflection exercises, private community support. We'll provide replay access and email comment healing. And I just want to mention that we want people to go from surviving grief to finding joy again, from feeling
mhm.
alone to finding the community, from feeling stuck to
Yes,
moving forward with hope.
yes.
Okay. So, and that's going to start July the 11th, everybody. So make sure that you
Okay.
get registered now because you can get more of a savings, right? As far as
Mhm.
the early bird special. So, yes, make sure you guys sign up. It's going to be
Yes, we
great.
will.
We can't wait to have you
I
all.
cannot wait. I'm so excited to share this with the audience. And you know
Yes.
what? Especially on everyone's journey to healing.
Yes.
Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for
Yes.
being with us today. You know, this has been so enlightening, and I can't wait to do this again because you know we're gonna do this again.
I
I
know.
love
Let's do
this. We're gonna do this
it again.
again. um, you know, my final message for all of those
Yes.
out in the audience: if you recognize yourself in this conversation today, your experience matters. It absolutely matters. Healing is possible. And understanding what happened is not about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your pursuit of happiness. Until next time, I was with the beautiful, wonderful Joy Larkin today. Stay rooted, keep rising. See you next time.